We use a keyword declare for declaring the variables. And then when we're using temporary tables, if you're using within the procedure, you don't need any declarations. If you want to export it back as an output parameter, that needs an explicit declaration. And you can declare that as if you want the structure of the temporary table similar to your database table, you can use the database table declaration. And if you want with specific columns, then you have to create your own table type and use a table type for declarations. And all the table types what has been created, you get to see them under procedures tab, table types folder. Yeah. So we're okay with that. Now we're trying to see the complete syntax of the procedure. Okay. So we just been using the normal syntax saying create procedure and parameters and then as begin, but there's quite other options what you can specify in the syntax while creating the procedure here. So this is how it goes. Create procedure, and here we specify the name of the procedure qualified by the schema name, and then as next part of it, and all others are optional, and then this becomes mandatory as begin and end. Before that, you can have the parameters specified, which could be input, output, or in-out. So to declare an input parameter, we use a keyword in. To declare an output parameter, we use a keyword out, OUT. And we can have a parameter which can act both as an input as well as output. Then use a keyword in-out. Okay. And then next part of the syntax, we use a keyword language to specify what language are we using in implementing the scripting here, in implementing this procedure. So I would say a language SQL script. As I told you, we also have R integration. We can also leverage R language to implement your logic. HANA has got R integration, so you can also use R language to write your logic also. So generally it will be SQL script. So it's a language, and the language would be your SQL script. And then you have another option called SQL security, and specify the mode. Mode here could be invoker or definer. If I say SQL security definer, then whenever the procedure is called, the procedure would get executed based on the authorizations of the user who has defined this procedure. If I say SQL security as invoker, then whenever the procedure is triggered, the procedure is executed based on the authorizations of the user who is invoking it or who is calling this procedure. So with the SQL security mode, you can you can specify definer or invoker. If you define it as in definer, the procedure is executed based on the authorizations of the user who is running it. If you say invoker, it runs based on the authorizations of the user who is invoking it. Next, we have an option called default schema. Generally, when you're writing the logic or when you're writing a select statements within the body, let's say you're referring some tables, let's say lots of tables. So specifying all the table names with schema name, you can say default schema as some, you can specify the schema name here. It's like set schema for this procedure. So all the select statements or all the tables what we refer within the body will by default be referred from that particular schema. So that's where we can use default schema. Then we have, then next part of syntax is we specify reads SQL data. Now, see, you might be right, when you're writing a stored procedure, you can use any of these SQL statements like insert, delete, select, truncate, all those. Not truncate, but delete, update, insert, upsert, all those, select. So let's say I have a procedure where I'm only using select statement. It means I'm only reading data. But if you look at a procedure where I've involved insert statements or delete statements or update statements or upsert, it means I'm changing the database. I'm actually writing the data back to the database. So what it does is, if you're implementing procedures which is only reading the data from database, you specify this keyword as reads SQL database. Suppose if you're using this procedure for inserting or doing some data manipulations on the table database, then you don't use this keyword reads SQL data. So when you basically using a procedure just for reading, and if you specify this keyword as it is only reads SQL data, then there are lots of checks which is not done on this procedure. If there is a procedure which is actually doing inserts or updates or deletes, there will be a lot of extra checks which is done onto the procedure, which will be slow enough. So what we do is, if you're using a procedure which is just reading data from database, we explicitly use this keyword to specify that this procedure is just going to read the data from the database. So in that case, there will be no extra checks performed on this particular procedure. Next, we have an option called with result view and view name. Here the view name is nothing but your column view name. Column view name here. So when I say column view name, what does it say? Very, very important. Let's say only when, in a case when there is a procedure which is created, which is having an output parameter of table type, you can use this syntax here with result view. Say, let's say I have a procedure where I'm returning out a table type parameter, then I can use this option saying with the result view and the column view. So the result of the table, what is been written out, will be projected as a column view. So when I create this procedure saying, let's say I have a procedure which is returning a table type output parameter. In that case, I can use this option saying with result view so and so. When I deploy the procedure with this option, it automatically creates a column view, and which is virtual. And when I try to see the data of column view, internally it executes this procedure and gives me the results. So when I create a procedure with the result view as column view, I have two options of seeing the data, calling the procedure. One is using call statement, or I can do a select on that column view, which in turn calls the procedure and gives me the result. Yeah. We'll see an example so you'll understand. So, and then as begin and end would be the starting point of the body and end point of the body ending. And within the begin and end, you start your basically implement all your SQL statements implementing the procedure body. Yeah. And in the begin, you can basically specify by default the procedure gets executed parallelly. But if you want it to get executed only sequentially, then you can use this keyword sequential execution bus. So within the begin and end, you will have all the logic of the procedure. If you want by default it to get executed parallelly, if there is, let's say you got statement A, statement B, statement C, if there's no difference in all these three statements starts getting executed parallelly. But if you want to force the system to execute sequentially, then you can use this keyword sequential execution, then it starts executing line by line sequentially only. Yeah? So this is actually the syntax of the stored procedure. Any doubts here? Okay. So let's see an example.
Sir, can you once explain this SQL security?
Which one is SQL security?
Yeah, yeah.
See, for SQL security, we can specify two values. One is like, we can say SQL security definer, or we can say it as invoker. If I set this as SQL security definer, then whenever the procedure is triggered, the logic or the statements of the procedures are executed based on the authorizations of the user who has defined this procedure. But if you set it as invoker, whenever the procedure is called in, the procedure is executed based on the authorizations of the user who is invoking it, who is calling the procedure. So If you want it to run based on the authorizations of the user who has created this procedure, then you will set it as definer. Or you want it to run based on the authorizations of the user who is calling this procedure, then you will set it as invoker. Yeah. Clear?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So now let's see. This basically a simple one, but so I got create procedure and then I got some name of the procedure here, and I got an input parameter. Then I got output parameter here. Okay. I got an output parameter here, and then say language SQL script. Since uh, let's use this. Basically, I'm reading employee name from this table and then inserting in. If you remember, we had some table type which is having only names, right? I can use this for definition. But if you look at these types, it has got the column as what? Names. But the column name, what I'm reading from table is employee name, EMP name. So I'll say as names. So that's okay. So I've got an output table type parameter, which is a list, which is of this type. And language is, I'm using a SQL script. SQL security as definer. And default schema is 9 cubic SQL. So I'm going to refer to all these tables by default from the schema. And I'm going to use this procedure only for reading. So I'm saying reads SQL data here. Okay. And as begin and end, I can also use a syntax with result view. Look at this. If since I have a procedure which is returning a table type output parameter here, I can use this option as with result view. Some names, employee names is my column view name. Yeah. Since I have a procedure which is returning a table type output parameter, I can use this option as with result view as employee names. Now let's see what happens. I select this and run this procedure. And now once the procedure is created, I should see a procedure with this name. With full syntax here. I have got a procedure created. One second, one second. Okay. So once this procedure is created, okay, you will have the column view created. If you look at this, look at this. As soon as I create this procedure, it has created the procedure plus the column view here. Employee names. If I go to the definition of this column view, it tells me. So it is going to return me a column called names, and it is got the statement here. It says so and so column view will be populated by using this procedure with saying what? With full syntax here. Okay? So whenever I try to see the content of this column view, it is going to call that. I know what is the problem, but look at this. I'm saying select star from this column view. Then internally it is trying to execute my procedure and then give me the result bus. For giving me this result, the problem here is it is trying to call the procedure, but the procedure has got an input parameter required here. So we are not passing the parameter. That is a problem here. Yeah. So when I'm trying to do a select on this column view, it is trying to trigger this procedure by passing the name to this parameter. So that is a problem. That is the error it gives you. Yeah. So for now, let's not worry on the placeholder, but let me remove an input parameter and show you how it is. See, if you try to see the content, saying select star, you get to see the names first. See, you get to see the names here. Yeah, previously I had a problem because it has got some input parameter required. We'll see how do we pass in input parameters. Hello, Baswa, please. I can't tell you so many times. Please. Who is this guy? Okay, చెప్తే అర్థం కాదు. Okay, now see, that's how we can use this column view. You can do a select on this column view, or I can also call this procedure here. See, if I call the old procedure by passing input, here I'm passing. So I can do a call like this. But some of you are attending, you're sharing the link to others and they are joining. Please do not do that, okay? See, it is disturbing the class now. I have to keep sit and dismiss everyone then. I know some of you are sharing this link with everyone and then others are not able to connect because there is a limitation on number of people can connect, please. So like this, I can have procedure with the complete syntax using with result view also. Any doubts here, Prashant?
Sir, I don't understand this result view. Why do we, above you name that view, the out as LT imp list, but then again you're naming the result view as employee names one. So why do you have two different names for the result view?
You mean to say this one?
No, in the out parameter you named it out LT underscore emp list in the out parameter.
See, this is table type. This is only used for declaration. I'm using this table type just for declaring the structure of this temporary table. Now, since I have a table type which has been written out from the procedure, okay, I can basically specify the output of this table as a column view. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, what other options are there to read the SQL data? There is a under default schema there is read SQL data. So what other options are there here?
Now, when you say reads SQL data, it means your procedure is only reading data from the database. Suppose if your procedure is performing inserts or deletes, then this will not come in. Yeah? You don't specify that statement. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Sir, what happens when we use this with result view? Only we are able to see the data in the column view. That's it.
Exactly. When you use this syntax, see, first thing is you can use this syntax with result view only when my procedure is being when my procedure is having a output table type parameter. That is first. Okay. Then once I have my procedure which is outputting a table type output parameter, you can project the result as with result view as a column view name. Yeah. So then when you activate this procedure, it creates a column view. So when I try to see the content of the column view, in turn it actually triggers your procedure and then gives you the result. Yeah? That is one way of doing it. Or another way of doing it is calling the procedure. So then your question is, why should I do this way?
Yes.
Why should I say, I can simply call the procedure, right? Why should I say with result view and then use a column view? Yeah, that is your question. Good. Let's say I have some tables in HANA database, okay, and I would like to do reporting on business objects, okay, by you creating some universe on top of it.
Mm.
The universe has a limitation. When you're creating universe on SAP HANA, okay, when you're creating universe on SAP HANA, you can only access tables or views, okay, tables or normal
Mm.
database views or column views only. We cannot use stored procedures in universe. Let's say I have a requirement like this where I have the tables in database. I would like to do some on-fly transformations by using a stored procedure. And on the result of the stored procedures, I would like to do reporting in business objects. That's my requirement.
Mm.
Let's say I have a table in HANA which is being replicated in real time from different source and getting filled. On fly, I would like to do some transformations on the table and then enable it for reporting those. Okay.
Yes.
So in that case, I would go with this because I cannot use the stored procedures in IDT universe now. So what I'll do is on top of the table, I'll create some stored procedure where I'll do all the on-fly transformations on it and project the result of the procedure as a column view. So in the IDT, I'll create universe on column view and then do reporting. So whenever I do a reporting on that column view, internally in the HANA database, it executes the stored procedures and gives me the result for it. Yeah.
Oh. Mm.
Understood the requirement. So mainly the IDT universe does not support you to use the procedures in building universe. You go to project the result of the procedure as a column view and then consume that column view in creating the universe. Okay.
Sir, in that
Sir,
case, what you mean to say is whatever the procedure gives an output, the same with result view, the whatever that we have mentioned will give. That is what you mean to say, is it?
Sorry, I didn't get, your voice is breaking, sir.
You said that we are using this as a column view when we specify in the procedure with the result view as
Yeah.
some name.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
here we have given name as 01.
Yeah.
So when in universe we use store directly, so we intended to use this column as a as for result.
Exactly. See, I have a procedure now which
So
is returning as a table type now. Yeah. Temporary table output I've got. So now I can project the result as with result view as a column view name, which actually creates a column view for you. And this column view can be consumed in the IDT universe as a source.
so that means the whole procedure, whatever it produces the results, the column view has the same one, right?
Exactly. Column view is virtual. Whenever I try to do a select on that column view, it actually executes a procedure and gives you the result for you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
For example, if I create a data foundation here, see the data in the column view is virtual. It doesn't store any data physical. See, I've got 9 cubics. Expand this. See, is this column view here? Employee names. And when I see this column view and when I try to see the data, it is actually showing me data. How is it source? Internally, it is executing the stored procedure in HANA and then giving me the results here. You understood now? Now it's clear?
Yeah, it's pretty much clear, sir. Thank you so much.
So in IDT, how would you pass a parameter if the procedure requires an input parameter? How would you pass it within?
Excellent question. Excellent question. Now look at this. Now I have this column view. When I try to see the content, it doesn't show me. It shows me an error saying we have not passed any value to this input parameter, right? Because when I try to see the content of this column view, it is executing the procedure which has got input parameter required. In that case, how do I execute that? Is look at this. I'll say select star from this table. Normally, if it is a table and if you want to apply filter the data, what do? You write it as what? Where clause, right? But when you're triggering a select on the column view and you got to pass value to this parameter, you use this syntax of using placeholder. Very, very important. You say placeholder, and what was the parameter name for this? It is v underscore the v underscore employee number. Was it that? One second, let me see. Yeah, v underscore empno. V underscore empno. I'm just going to pass it as 3, and then close the parenthesis. So basically we use a syntax called placeholder when you want to pass value to this parameter. Now what is it? I'm triggering a column view which in turn calls my procedure which will take this parameter value to this procedure bus and gives me the result. So it just give me only which is less than 3. Suppose if I say 5, it triggers procedure with 5 as a value. Okay, now you understood this part of it. Say if I see normally if you want to apply some filters on the select statement, use where clause. But if you have a column view which is supposed to trigger the procedure by passing an input parameter, then we use the syntax of placeholder bus. You say select star from this column view, and by using this placeholder, you pass value to those input parameters what is required in that procedure which is triggered by your column view bus. This part is clear, boss?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So now what we will do is we will go to IDT universe. Now I want to do that. So what I'll do, I'll say insert, I'll say derived table, then I use this select statement here. I use the select statement here and then say validate, that's fine. I'll say EMP something, yeah. EMP details. Now it's clear. Now if when I use a derived table, now you get that as a table because so now within the derived table, I have my select statement, which is actually calling my placeholder, which is calling the procedure bus by passing this parameter value. Let's say now you have a requirement. Now I'm not fixing it as 5 here, yes. But I want to make this 5 dynamic. Then what can you do? Can I write @prompt function here and make the value dynamic? So I give some prompt value here. And the same value will be passed on to my, I'll have pair prompt in the BO, say some enter EMP number something, yeah. Let's this is my prompt. I don't know if there's some. And I'm not getting the syntax of enter prompt. So you can use @prompt function here. So when we run this report, you get a prompt screen, you enter some value and that value will be passed into this placeholder. Okay. Fine, boss?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I think this is very, very important concept. Okay. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
As of now, we are placing the entire store procedure result in one view. Then that view is accessible while creating edit, right, sir?
Yes, exactly. And you can project the result of the procedure as a column view only if your procedure is outputting a table type parameter, otherwise no. Yeah.
So can't we post it to table instead of view, because view is runtime object, right? So while reading the data, it is taking time, but if you stored in table, it will be fast accessing. Is it not possible, sir?
Good point of discussion. One second. So he's saying, let's say he's got source table, okay, and let's say the source table is being like you're extracting data from different source and you're filling this table out. Yeah. Excellent question. Now you should get the complete grip now. Now you're extracting data from different source and filling what? Let's say we're calling it a source table. Then I create one more table as what? Target table. Okay. Then you're going to use a procedure to implement the logic, which will basically read data from the source table, and as per your logic, it updates data into target table. And then on the target table, you would like to do reporting. Antena? This is what your question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would like to do reporting on this table. He says instead of building a procedure which is projecting the result as a column view, which is virtual, and then doing reporting on the column view, where since it is virtual, it slow down the procedure reporting process performance. So do this way. This is what he's asking. So next case is what? This case one. And this is the next case. So I've got data from the source table, and procedure would will not fill, but procedure is projecting the result as this projecting, not filling, projecting as column view, and the column view is being used for reporting. Okay. Now let's say like this. Now, if you look at the case one, where I'm reading data from source table and then filling my target table and then enabling target table for reporting, can I say this is not on-fly transformations? Let's say this table is getting filled continuously. Only every time I run this procedure, I should schedule this procedure in the background. Only after that I should be able to do reporting on it. Otherwise, no. Yes or no? Because I'll have the reflected data in my target table only after I run my procedure. Before my users run my reporting, I should keep on running my procedure here. Yes or no, boss?
Yeah.
So like a background job, we have an option. We have something called .xs job, through which you can basically trigger this procedure as a background job within HANA database to run every daily ones or hourly ones or monthly ones. We can do that. But if I'm doing this job should be is running every time to fill this target table, and then we are doing report. That is one case. But if you look at this case, whenever I do reporting, you trigger a column view, triggers the procedure and reads the data on fly and then converts data on fly and then gives you report. Let's say now this table is getting filled in real time, replicate in real time. And in that case, the data what is replicated in the real time in the source table is available for reporting only after I run this procedure in this case. In this case, I don't have to wait for the procedure to run. On fly, I can have the transformations that procedure been triggered and give me the results. So do you understand the difference now?
Yeah, got it.
This is more like an you're basically transforming it, filling and storing and then giving it. That is okay for a normal databases. Since HANA is in memory, it can process data on fly. We are expecting it to perform on-fly transformation so that there is no reporting dependency on this procedure bus. So as soon as they trigger reporting, it does trigger procedure on fly and performs on fly transformations and give. That is what we want to achieve with HANA. Okay.
Answer data redundancy in case one. Same
Yeah.
data we are storing.
Excellent. Even that is a problem again. Data redundancy also will increase. Yes. Because since HANA being in-memory database, you have to use it more intelligently. Okay. The next one will go with if condition. See, how do we perform an if condition with scripting sequence?
Sir,
Sir, this is just like triggers in SQL.
Yeah, even for trigger you write script, right? See,
Yes, yes. I mean, in PLSQL,
yeah,
we do triggers.
Anten, see, actually why it is like that, because
Okay.
see, equal scripting is a language, okay? And this language can be used when you want to implement trigger or a procedure or a function. Right? Say ABAP is a language. By using
Okay.
ABAP language, you can write an executable program or include a program or a function model, subroutine, whatever it is.
Yes. Yes,
It's
yes.
all the same way. SQL script is a programming language which can be used to implement a trigger or a procedure or a function. So for you to keep practicing on scripting, I'm showing on stored procedures. That's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, in previous example, what are the optional and which lines are mandatory? Can you tell us once again, sir?
Which one? Everything is
Yeah,
optional.
previously.
If you see, everything is optional except this as, begin and end is mandatory, and rest all
Okay.
parameters, language, SQL script, default, read SQL, all these are optional. And then name, create procedure,
Okay.
name of the procedure is mandatory.
Okay, fine.
If you have not specified something in the square brackets, it means they are mandatory. And anything which is specified in the square brackets, square parentheses, it means they are optional. Yeah. Okay. Now you getting to see that if condition. See, we everyone know, like, it's a conditional statement. We check some condition. If satisfied, it does perform those statements within the if condition. If not, it gets onto else part or end if, right? Similar way, even this programming language also would have, SQL script also would have an if condition statement which can have some syntax here. Look at this. It will have like if some condition and then the value. So these statements are executed only when this condition is satisfied. We can have else if, and last we can also have else and the statements end if. Similar to above, you'll have space, end space if here, and but if, and you should use a keyword then, okay. And we can have multiple conditions with and, or, yes, all possible. Okay, so I just have this procedure with what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to have two variables v underscore a and v underscore b as input parameters, and also have an input parameters as option and output parameters result. So based on the option, let's say I pass option as sum, okay, add. Then you have to add this a and b, then result and pass on the result with the summation value. If I give the option as multiply, then you have to multiply both and give out the result as multiplication value. Same with sum. If not, it has to do a division. Okay, straightforward. So, see, till here it's all body. So this is my body here, the logic. Okay, yeah. Then execute, select. So if I say, if I call the procedure, I'm passing the parameter like option as add and A as 20 and 70, B and the result. Yeah. So obviously you should get the result as 90. Yeah. Same thing if I call this with multiplication, then you would get something like 1400. Yeah. Like this, we can implement it if condition. See, while checking the condition, it is equal to is normal equal to operator was, and colon equal to is assignment operator. Here I'm checking whether LV option value, see, I'm checking content of LV option value is same as the value add or not. Since it is string, in single quotes I'm putting it as. Then I would say if it is satisfying this condition, then I can say I can use this v underscore a plus this better. You understand this way. So content of this variable, and then we can have this condition. Clear with this if condition. One point to be noted here. when I'm implementing this if condition, do I have any select statement here? Did I use any select statement bus? Simple. The question is this if condition embedded into a select statement or it is written as a separate statement bus? Separate line of code. It is written as
Separate line of.
separate line of code, possible, yeah. So normally in other programming language, do we see something like switch case statement, yeah? Instead of having multiple if statements, do we also implement a case statement bus? Yes. But so
Yes.
even in SQL script, you also have case statement, but case statement has to be implemented with select statement. Select statement. It cannot be as a separate statement. Okay. Got this? If statement can be used as a separate statement, but case statement has to go with the select statement alone. Let's see that. Now case statement, yeah. Just to demonstrate this, I'm just creating some table with ID, name, and salary. Then I'm just inserting some rows, 9 rows. What I want is this table gives me employee ID, name, and salary. I just want to calculate some tax percentage on that salary. Simple. Let's say some percentage based, and the tax percentage what I want to calculate is based on the employee ID bus. Simple logic. If employee ID I just want 20%, for employee ID 2 it is 40%, for others nothing. Okay, I just want to calculate tax value only where employee ID is 1 and 2 only. So the table what I'm projecting, the result is I'll have ID, name, salary, and what, and also tax value. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating my own table type with the structure what I want with 4 columns. Then I'm just saying create procedure out I tab declared as this table type, because my table type structure is with 4 columns. I've declared it language as on begin. Say look at the logic what I'm writing. ID, select the ID from the table, name, salary is all selected, all the 3 columns, comma, and I want to calculate, I would like derive the logic for tax value, saying what, case, check the value of the ID, so case the parameter is ID, when 1, then salary into 0.20, when the value is 2, then salary into 0.40, and here it ends the case statement, end. So case, the parameter, when the value, then what? And end, and as tax value. So here it ends the case statement. And the whatever I'm getting the result from this case statement, I would like to project that as a alias name as tax value. The result, this ends the case statement. Result of the case statement, I would like to project that as tax val. Okay. That's it. And I'm reading from this table. Okay. Attribute name. We have this TAX VAL. What is this TAX? Okay. Then I can just say call this. So for employee 1 and 2, it just calculates that percentage. Rest all it does leaves it blank. So if it is simple kind of where checking the multi conditions, I can use saying case parameter when this value 1 or when value 2. But when you have complex formulas to be executed, saying when logic 1, when logic 2, then you will go about writing case statement like this. You say case, you don't specify anything. Then within the when you specify the logic. When this logic, then yes, else no. See, look at this. Because if it is you have a parameter field and you want to check write multiple conditions based on the value of it, saying when one or when two, then you can just write a simple case like this. But when you have some complex logic to be checked in for each of the when class, then you will say case, it will be blank. And then for each of the when, you specify the logic to be checked in. Say when logic 1, when logic 2, when logic 3, can write complex logics like that. You can write, just say, write it like this. Invalid. Valid column name. This is a whole table, okay, but not there, but this is how you can write your case statements. Okay. But only difference you see is by using if condition or case statement, you can implement conditional statements. But if statement can be implemented as a separate statement, but whereas case has to be embedded within the select statement always. It cannot be used as a separate statement in the when you're implementing the logic. It has to be embedded within the select statement. Okay.
Okay, sir, I was wondering one thing. When in this example we have specified the language as SQL script, how does it matter? I mean, say for example, you told about this result view, how is it going to impact the system, and a read statement, how is it going to?
When you say SQL language is SQL script, but you're saying that you go to use this language, yeah. So
Yeah, we can.
based on that, it does leverage the different compilers to compile. For example, if you say language is R language, then it will have different compiler to parse those coding and execute that coding, or in different engines. But if it's a SQL,
It's like we are telling.
yeah, yeah, we said,
It's like we are telling the system which compiler to use.
yeah, which,
If we do not, it will take decision of its own.
yeah, instead of using the word compiler, we'll say which engines to be used.
Okay. And if we do not specify, it will search of its own.
Exactly.
And it will be
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Next we have for loop. Yeah. Next we have looping statements. Conditional statement should be if and case. When you want to check some condition and perform certain activity, it will be if and case. But when it comes to looping statements, the first one will have for loop. So I'm just saying this is the syntax it goes in. I'm just declared some board variable LV count as 1 and for. So I'm just declared a variable as LV count as 1. I'm saying for LV count in 1 dot 1 is the from value, and the operand after the 2 dots should be 2 value from 1 to 10. I don't want to 10, I just okay with 4. So for LV count between value 1 to 4, it has to keep printing that LV count value. So I'll say select LV count from dummy. So first time the LV count value is 1, it gets in, prints the value. The next time when the loop starts in, the LV count value is 2, prints that value, then 3, then 4. So it will print LV count as 4 values here. Just the looping syntax. For, and this is the range of the condition, and then do, end for. So this for statement would run for a specific set of iterations, okay, 4 times. So let me just call this. It is only going to print me, so print me as 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 times the loop was run. Like this, we can have syntax for. So for would go with the looping statement, which runs with multiple iterations first. Okay. So for people who are new to programming, you should have an understanding of each statement. How does it go through? So what you can do, you can just double click on. You can try to do a debugging on this and understand the looping statement. Yeah. What is the procedure name? You guys are able to hear me, right? Hello?
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
we are
We
able
can
to
able.
hear you.
Okay. See now, as soon as the loop starts, your LV count value is 1. Yeah. Now the loop starts. So is my LV count value is within this range from 1 to 4? Yes. So it gets inside the loop and then prints the value. And then when the loop starts again, see the LV count value is automatically incremented by 1. So now 2 is within this range, now gets in. Now again it increments. Now 3, again it increments with 4, but now when it is 5, it comes out of it. So because the 5 is not there within the range. Okay. Next, we also have another looping statement as while loop. Working with while loops, what I'm doing is I'm just declaring the count, a variable called count, declaring the variable as type integer. Then I've initialized it. So I've just declared this tenant echo. I've declared this variable. So during declaration itself, I can initialize it. So I've declared a variable called LV counter of type integer and initialized the default value as 3. And I've declared a variable called LV in it. And then I'm assigning the value as 1. So LV init is 1 and LV counter is 3. I'm saying if the content of init is less than, I can say less than or equal to, less than or equal to counter, then do this. So when this condition is satisfied, yeah, do this, and within that, what is that? You're just trying to print that LV initialized value, and once it prints in, I'm just incrementing that value. LV init is equal to content of LV init plus 1. I'm keep incrementing that value now. Okay. The loop starts in first LV count will be 1 and 1 is less than or equal to 3, so it prints in and then increments it. Now it becomes 2. 2 is less than or equal to 3, it prints in. Again 3 is less than or equal to 3, yes, prints in. Now when the init is 4, does not satisfy the condition, does not get it and comes out of it. So what does it do? This also just prints in the value from 1 to 3. So loop 1 printing 1, loop second iteration of the loop printing 2, third iteration is just printing 3. Yeah.
Sir, in this declare statement, why you've given two, oh, okay.
Yeah, tell me, sorry.
You will have two different declare statements in that SQL in that procedure.
Yeah, yeah.
In one in one of the declare statements you gave the value as 3. In the next one you gave it as just integer, and separately you declare the value as 1.
Yeah,
Why did you do it like
because I wanted to show you both. I can do this way, I can do this way.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
Just for variation, I can see here itself. I can write say colon equal as 1, but for you, I want to show you both the variations, that's all, nothing else.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
This for the people who have no programming backgrounds or weak at programming. So insert breakpoints, and I'm trying to debug this. See now I already have this statement executed LV counter. So the LV counter value is 3, but LV init is been declared, but this statement is not yet get executed, so it's still null. So after this statement, LV1 init will be initialized with 1. Then now if you see LV init less than or equal to counter. So LV init is 1. Yes, 1 is less than or equal to 3 as condition is satisfied, so it gets in, prints that value, and then now LV init is what? 1. It is going to increment that by 1 plus 1. So it becomes 2. Again it gets inside the loop. Now the loop LV init is 2. 2 is less than or equal to 3 as gets in, prints it, and then it is going to increment that LV init from 2 plus 1 will become 3. Again condition, because now it is 3, 3 is less than or equal to 3. So it is equal, so it still satisfies the condition, prints the value. Then now LV init will be incremented by 1. So 3 plus 1 becomes 4. Now the 4 is not less than 3. So it doesn't satisfy the condition and breaks out of it. So you should understand about writing the looping like this. Yeah. Clear, boss? Any other loop, break, continue?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
The result is displaying in 3 tabs. What is the purpose of it?
Yeah, because
Why can't we see the same screen?
we can,
1, 2, 3
we
in
can,
the
we can
same.
do that. I can use some array concept and then put that. Don't worry about those 3 tabs or 1 tab. Worry about whether how do we loop those statements. That's all.
Okay, sir.
I was just demonstrating a simple example to make you understand how does for loop, what is syntax of the for loop, what is the syntax of the while loop, and what is syntax of if and case. That's all. Yeah. Because my understanding is if you have some knowledge on any of programming, you just have to take care of the syntax. And then you can implement any logic you want. Yeah. Next, we can use this break and continue. Same like similar to your C language, you here also has got break and continue statements. Generally, when do I use break? Say we have a loop running in. After certain condition, you want to break out of this loop. Then I will say break this. Means so it completely breaks that loop and comes to the statement after the loop. Yeah. And if you say continue, when this condition is satisfied, if you say continue, it stops this iteration and continues with the next iteration of the loop. That is continuous. Right? So you have break, continue. If I use break, what happens? Let's say I have a loop. Yeah, I have a loop. After loop end something. After this loop, I have some statement. So between this loop, I have just used some condition and I say break. Then when I do this, whenever this break statement get executed, it completely breaks out of the loop and executes the next statement after the loop. Completely breaks out the loop and executes the statement after that loop statement. Say now I've got loop and loop end. Let's after some condition I say continue. Then what happens? Let's say my loop has already run for, let's say loop is running for the third iteration, third time. When I say continue, it breaks the third one and then starts with the fourth iteration of the loop. That is loop and end loop, continue and break this. Yeah? Let's see this. She is asking me why should I do. I can also do this, nothing wrong. Now look at this. This is my body of the procedure with begin and end. So I've just declared two parameters, two variables. One is loop and one is like counter. And loop is 2 and loop is 4 and say count is 1. You have loop and end loop statement. Within see, I have a statement called loop and end loop. So within this is a loop statement. And with the loop and end loop, it keeps running with infinite looping. With an infinite looping, it keeps running out. There's no limitation on number of iterations. It keeps going through infinite looping. And by using this break or continue, we break the loop or we continue with the next iteration of the loop. So I'm saying what I'm doing every time the loop starts in, I'm just printing that LV count. Initially the LV count is what? 1. I'm just printing that 1. Then I'm checking if LV count, which is 1, is greater than my loop. What is my looping is 4. So is my 1 greater than the 4 bus? No. So it does not breaks out. So it just gets, so it does not execute this statement if. Then it just increments that my LV count by 1. So it becomes 2. Then it prints 2. Then again checks whether 2 is greater than 4. No. Then again increments it 3, 4. Then when it becomes 5, when 5 is greater than the 4, condition is satisfied. And then it breaks out. Once it breaks out, it comes out of the loop complete. It comes out to this place. Okay, boss?
Sir, this break and continue is only for loop statement or any other statements, say while or for loop?
No, whenever you want to break out of the loop, you can use this. For while, so you can say for while also you can say while, do end while. But for while, I think condition must. For loop and for a for loop, you specify the number of iterations. While condition is must. The syntax of the while expects a condition, but only in loop and loop, it does not need any conditioning. Yeah.
So if there is multiple loops, then break will only come out of the immediate loop. Right?
Exactly. So just printing that value and breaks out after that. This is your loop, end loop, break continues. And other examples will continue. See, I have some work for tomorrow and day after tomorrow, so I'll just take class only for 1 hour, but not for 1.5 hour. So I'm just busy till 14, another 2-3 days. I'll just take only for 1 hour, then we can take 1 hour. Okay? Yeah. Hello? But I'm stopping it here. Any doubts? I think this is very simple, straightforward. Should not have any doubts. I think. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
So I'm stopping it here. It's fine, right? Okay.
Okay.
Fine. Thank you.
One question, sir.